sometimes they don't manage that aspect of finance very well. So whether it's that or any other aspect, but you mentioned some of the things that you can do with kids. Allowances. About 3/4 of all parents provide some kind of an allowance to their children. And these allowances range from about $4 for an 8-year-old, $4 a week, to $10 a week. But whatever it is, it's not a bad idea to provide a small allowance to a child. Now, in most cases, parents also, about 2/3 of the time, they tie that allowance to some kind of work, some kind of chores. And about half the time, that allowance money is also, there's an encouragement to save a portion of that. So if you're providing a small allowance, tie it to chores and encourage kids to save a portion of that allowance, you're not only teaching them the importance of work and a little bit about managing money, you're putting them in a position where they have to make choices about their spending.
Absolutely.
And you're encouraging them to save a bit.
Absolutely.
So there are a lot of things we could talk about, but you're right. I mean, parents need to lead by example. They need to take the time to discuss financial issues with their kids and to talk about their own experiences, including some of the mistakes they've made, so that kids can learn from their parents. They want us to be talking about these things just like they do in other areas of their lives.
Dave, I totally agree. And I think you mentioned something that's very important. It's not only important to talk about the successes or where we are right now, but what about when we started out? Because I think kids starting out may not have what we have at this point in our lives. And so they need to know about even perhaps hear from their mother or father, hey, we made mistakes, or we focused too much on whether or not we could make that payment rather than what was the loan actually costing us, and discerning between needs and wants. So I think talking about those mistakes it provides for transparency, which I think can bring folks closer, but it also lets the child know that, hey, there are some pitfalls here which we want to avoid, and Dad or Mom is telling me.
And kids are pretty good about sorting through the stories about how we trudge through the snow 10 miles on the way to school with holes in our shoes.
That's right.
To the real stories.
Uphill both ways.
But if we talk a little bit about family members or friends or acquaintances in a proper way and give examples of how they were successful or how they ran into tough times because of financial decisions they made, as well as our own experiences, those are really some of the best opportunities to talk about smart money management.
Dave, would you agree that developing a plan for better money management will help most families feel more satisfied with their income and their progress toward goals? I find that a lot of folks seem to think that the only answer to happiness is getting more money, which I personally don't believe that's necessarily the truth. But managing that money is very important. And what tips would you have for families who are reaching their financial goals or striving to reach their financial goals?
Well, I think it all starts with some type of organization, some type of planning. And as much as many of us dislike having formal plans in various aspects of our lives, the fact is that in the area of financial fitness, you have to have some kind of a plan. And let's face it, our children, as well as we as adults, we're inundated with commercials all day long, all week long. Kids are watching 3 to 4 hours of TV and are inundated with about 3,000 commercials a month, where businesses are trying to get kids to buy food and clothing and toys and so on. Likewise, adults. We live in a society where we're inundated with those kinds of impressions. And we're spending and we're living and we're going about the various activities of our lives. And if we don't take time to bring some sense to that and plan and organize, we're in trouble. What I would suggest is that everybody should develop a very simple plan with short-term goals in the 12-month horizon, intermediate goals in the 1 to 5 year, and then long-term goals over 5 years. And as a family, sit down and talk a little bit about how we're doing, how we want to improve on our financial fitness, and how we're going to get there. In the short term, we're dealing with things like back-to-school needs. In the intermediate term, we're talking about perhaps how to reduce our dependence on credit and be able to save a little bit more so that we can plan for a vacation, and so on. And longer term, maybe we're trying to get out of this rented apartment that we're in and trying to realize the American dream and get into a home. But whatever those goals are, as a family, you know, kids want to be a part of that. And I think too often as parents we don't include our children in those tough decisions, and communication is a big part of it.
That's excellent. Always, it seems like we always come back to that issue of communication being so critical to any really healthy relationship, and so that's a great point. When I think about financial literacy, obviously we have to know a lot of things about how to manage our money, but part of it, and you mentioned it earlier, is in purchasing. Perhaps I'm unusual for a guy, but I'm a shopper. I love to shop, and I like men's ties and shirts, suits, but very seldom do I walk right in and buy the first thing I see, because I like to look around, not just for style, but for the best price. But that can go for anything. I hate paying full price for anything. Is that part of what folks need to be involved in?
Absolutely. And you know, let me give 4 tips for teaching children about money. All of this, you know, earning, spending, saving, investing, and so on. 4 tips, very simple. First, to differentiate needs from wants. That's number 1. And as parents, we have to continually help our children as they grow, as they get adult age, to understand the difference between needs and wants, and the importance of first taking care of the essential needs. I recently heard someone speak at an international forum who said, he was an American speaking to an international audience, and he said, you know what, I'm ashamed to admit that I think most American families are more interested in having a flat screen TV than they are about planning for retirement. And it's sad, but it's true. We have to be able to differentiate our needs from our wants. 2, with our children, we need to share secrets, the secrets of savings. Help them understand the compounding of interest and what can happen if you save just a little bit, watch it grow, and so on. So, importance of saving. 3, what you mentioned, Senator, instill smart spending habits. Now, in all these areas, they learn from watching us, and seeing how we operate, but also talking about it. And so when we're out shopping, bring the kids along and go to the discount store, go to the dollar store for certain things that you need, and shop the deals and use the coupons and show them how to purchase in a smart way. And the 4th one is to keep out of credit quicksand. And we can lead by example there, but we should also share with our children. You know, we've run our credit card debt up a bit too much, and this is costing us, you know, 15% of our budget, and we've got to fix that. They need to understand that. So those are 4 important areas, and you mentioned the one, just smart spending.
Well, I think when you talk about taking your kids with you, letting them see how you manage one's finances, that goes back to the old adage that it's more the information is caught more than taught, and caught by the communication, but allowing them to be there, see you, be with you as you're making those kind of right decisions. That's great. Well, earlier you mentioned some of the short-term goals, just preparing to go back to school, and now's that time. It's amazing, the seasons go so fast. It seems like spring just comes and all of the summer clothes are out, and summer comes by the calendar and it's back to school. But families are gearing up for going back to school, and if they haven't hit the stores already, what are some tips for managing their expenditures?